Alright, so that's boarding complete. I did a couple of things whilst we were boarding, just things I realised I should probably have done. Put the heading to 092, which is the runway heading, and also I changed the GSX sound, so I realised it was set to the wrong set of headphones. Right, so let's get the doors closed. Oops, I realised that door was already closed. Have to re-close that one. And close the cargo doors. Turn the ground power off now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just closed the main cabin door.
And we'll finish off those last items on the before start checklist. So the door lights are now out. So let me just double check that. I can't really see from this distance. Yep. Turn on the engine generators. Set the beacon. The beacon's already on. And we'll set the we'll let the GSX get ready before we turn off the packs. Otherwise, we'll roast the passengers. I wonder what the outside air temperature is actually. Let's have a look. 18. Oh, it's not too bad though.
Taxi via Lima
Let's
Kilo to gate no 250.
also get rid of the jetway.
Ground control, American Airlines 2219. Request start up and pushback.
American Airlines 2219ers. Start up and pushback approved.
Approved. American Airlines 2219.
Ground control, Usafer is clear of the runway. Request taxi to parking.
27. Taxi via Victor Papa 18 to gate Delta 39ers.
By Victor Papa 18 to gate Delta 39er 27.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback. Your life vest is located in a container beneath or located in between your seat. Inflate the vest just prior to exiting the aircraft by pulling the red tab on the front of the vest. Locking gear. More detailed instructions regarding this aircraft is in your seat pocket. Departure check completed.
Bypass vest inserted.
Release parking brakes.
Okay, parking brakes off.
All engines clear.
Turn off the packs.
Start that wheel.
And then start engine number 2 first. I'm using the Turbine Sound Studios sound, in case you're wondering why they sound a little bit different, hopefully a little bit better. Well, I'll start the engines up and then I'll talk a bit more about that.
Ground control 880. Request startup and pushback.
880. Start up and pushback approved.
Startup and push approved. 880. Ground control 880. Request taxi.
880 via Sierra, Quebec, Maine to holding position runway 27. When on
engine
position,
two stable.
contact tower on 118.3.
To holding position runway 27 via Sierra, Quebec, Maine. Tower on 118.380.
You probably notice I put the fuel in at 22. This is just an issue with the way that the engines start modelling. The engine at the start is modelled with the QualityWings. Because obviously the Soundpack wants to do it how it would be done in real life, but it doesn't go up to 25, which I assume is when you put the fuel in. I assume it's the same as a 737. But it all kind of starts up a little bit too quickly.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass main removed.
As you can hear, it's still starting up, but according to the instruments, they're both stable. Anyway, let's get the packs back on now, and we can turn the APU off, isolation valve off, taxi lights on. Are the landing lights on? So double check.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Yeah, I don't know why they were on. Oh, they're off now.
Is clear of the runway. Request taxi to parking.
So taxi lights on,
taxi via Lima,
landing lights
7 Mike,
off,
November, Whiskey,
and
Quebec,
yeah, we're good on lights. Right, let's do the afterstart checklist.
Mike, November, Whiskey, Quebec,
So,
Foxtrot,
engine anti-ice,
110.
weather's looking up a lot better now actually, so we'll leave that off. Isolation valves off, pack selectors are auto, ECAS is only the parking brake, flaps we'll set to 5. Ground equipment's clear, APU's off, and the engine display's blank. Good, good to taxi.
Ground control, American Airlines 2219. Request taxi.
American Airlines 2219er to holding position runway 08 right via 13 Whiskey, November, Mike 1. When on position, contact tower on 118.3.
Via 13 Whiskey, November, Mike 1. Holding position 08 right, tower on 118.3. American Airlines 2219.
So it requires about 40% to get it moving, and I'll be using my new T.Flight Rudder Pedals, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the cruise. It's a new purchase, and I wanted just to talk a little bit more about them because they're quite controversial. Perhaps I want to put some of those fears to rest, and actually, I probably would actually recommend them. So a reasonably long taxi over to 08 right, where there's kind of an amalgamation of 3 runways. Because of the diagonal runway 12, 30, and obviously 08 right and 08 left. So it's quite a busy hold short. I've done that a bit before in real life when I was flying from Miami to New York, and it can be quite a large queue of aircraft there. But we'll see how we're doing when we get a bit closer. Otherwise, we've got a nice easterly departure, and hopefully fly over that scenery that I was talking about earlier. Right here, and then track down November at the end of this taxiway.
1516, startup approved.
Startup approved. 1516.
Still trying to get used to the direction. Unfortunately, I mean, it's probably quite a bad habit. I'd strongly recommend you get out of this habit if you do currently use it. But with my joystick rudder, if you pushed the... So say I was trying to go left with the rudder. If you push the left-hand side of the kind of rocker switch, you'd go left. But obviously with your pedals, it's the other way around. You push your right foot forward to go right, which is the opposite. So I got into this habit, so I'm still getting used to it's almost like it's inverted. But obviously, if I want to do some real flying and later on, perhaps some PPL, I need to obviously get used to the different rudder. Correct type of rudder, I should say, direction. So a lot of, like I said, a lot of joysticks seem to have it set that way. So if you have got used to it using the rudder that way, I would strongly recommend getting out of that habit and perhaps invert it. Just so if you do get rudder pedals, you haven't got used to the wrong.
Ground control 1521. Clear of the runway. Request.
Looks like we're relatively lucky. I think we're the only ones actually getting up to the runway. I don't really know why we're using 08 right according to that windsock. Looks like we're going on a downwind takeoff. But, oh well. I'm sure it won't matter a huge amount. 10 knots though. Interesting choice of runway.
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
So we've tested the brakes, and the before takeoff checklist is literally just to check that the flaps are in the correct position. So we're otherwise good to go. Actually, what I also do is just derate the temperature. So it's this one. We'll set it to 50. Because we've got a nice long runway, we may as well save wear on the engine. There we go. And we'll get takeoff clearance now.
Tower, American Airlines 2219, on holding position, runway 08 right.
American 2219, line up, runway 08 right.
Lining up runway 08 right, American Airlines 2219.
So if we get clearance relatively quickly, and we can do a rolling takeoff.
Approaching 08 right. On runway 08
American
right.
2219, wind 0408, while runway heading to point airborne, contact departure on 119.45, runway 08 right, clear for takeoff, goodbye.
Runway heading, departure frequency 119.45, runway 08 right,
Rolls
clear for
Royce
takeoff,
engines
American
kick into
Airlines
action. Let's get going.
2219. Departure control, American Airlines 2219, with you on 700 for 5,000.
American Airlines 2219, cleared via SKI Papa Sierra 2 climb 2120.
Via SKI Papa Sierra 2, climbing to 2000, American Airlines 2219.
Let's get out nav and VNav on, and get the autopilot on as well. Get flap 1 now. And once we hit 205, we'll get flaps up. There we go. And there's Miami downtown. There's Palm Beach. Right, and we can do the after takeoff checklist, which is landing gear, levers off, and the flaps are up. So I'll join you up in the cruise then. So, welcome to flight level 370 as we head over Andros Island and the rest of the Bahamas, which we can see down below. I think Nassau is out there somewhere, one of these islands, possibly this one actually here. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'd quite like to talk a bit about the T.Flight Rudder Pedals. Now, they've only been out for a very brief amount of time. I think they came out last month. And I've been looking for a pair of rudders for a very, very long time, and Cytec seems to be the company to go for, but unfortunately they seem to have a lot of shortages at the moment with their equipment, particularly their rudders, so it's a bit of a challenge to find them, and the ones that are available are very expensive. So I saw, probably on the Reddit page that I follow, the Reddit flight sim page, that there was this new set of pedals that were coming out, and they were cheap. I think they were initially marketed at €99.99, so €99.99, and it seemed to be filling a gap in the market where they're a step below the high quality ones, but they looked pretty good. So I took a punt on it and ordered them when I got back. I only paid £79.99p. And I bought them through their actual shop themselves. It looks like in the EU you can buy them straight from Thrustmaster, but I don't think you can in the US, so you have to go through an independent vendor such as Amazon. Like I said, the cheapest I could find was through Thrustmaster themselves, and they arrived a couple of days later, and soon after I ordered them I saw some quite negative reviews, particularly on Amazon.com. Talking about the build quality and the width of the pedals and things like that. Anyway, so I was a bit despondent and I thought I might have to return them as soon as they arrived. But when they arrived, they were okay. I mean, obviously you can tell they're not high quality. They're quite cheaply made. You can see the materials used are quite cheap. But the important bits are made of metal, such as the runners that the pedals slide up and down. They are on a angle which I think some people would argue isn't really true to life. As far as I'm aware, pedals are on a flat plane, they don't go up on an angle, and as people mentioned, they are quite close together, rather than kind of, they're more like hip distance apart rather than the kind of slightly splayed distance that they are on certain aircraft. So those are probably some negatives, but I don't think these are going to be falling apart anytime soon. I've used Thrustmaster T.Flight Hotas X for probably 7 or 8 years, and it's made for the same plastic, has the same kind of relatively cheap feel on build quality, and they've lasted me for years, and they are excellent. And I kind of get the impression that these are going to be the same. Obviously, to be confirmed, and I need to give them a good test before I can conclusively say that they're going to be good. But they work well, they feel fine. The independent brakes are obviously a very useful add-on to have, and I'm quite happy with them. So personally, they get my thumbs up, and I'm quite happy with my purchase. I'm certainly not going to be returning them anytime soon unless they break. So I'm probably going a bit against the grain with the reviews, but yeah, I would give them my thumbs up. Anyway, enough talking. I shall see you when we get closer to the top of descent. See you then.